Hey guys, it's Josh with AIAA. We had a Pro E workshop about a week ago, and I just wanted to go over what we went over in the workshop for those of you that couldn't make it, and for those of you that could make it, you can review this for later workshops. That way everyone's all caught up and on the same page, and we can go over some more advanced stuff later on. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is open up Pro Engineer. And we're going to go ahead and start a new part file. I can just click on this piece of paper here, or I can come up to File, New, and you see we have all these options to choose from. The only thing we're interested in right now is part, and we'll just call this dumbbell. Alright, so you see right here we have our work area, three-dimensional work area. You can already tell it's a little different from some CAD software if you're experienced with SolidWorks maybe, or Autodesk Inventor, CATIA or NX. Basically the way three-dimensional CAD software works is this is parametrically driven. That means the models are driven entirely by parameters we have set upon it. That's as opposed to like an artistic software for graphic design. This is an engineering tool. So what we basically start off with is a two-dimensional sketch, which we manipulate in some way to create a three-dimensional object. Right here we have our planes that we can use. These are two-dimensional planes that we create our sketches on. Let's see, over here on our left is going to be our feature tree. Basically everything we do to create this part is going to be in this tree on your left. On your right, you have tools to create these three-dimensional features we were discussing. We'll go over those. But first thing I want to do is just go to create a sketch. I'm going to go ahead and click this top plane. You can click it inside your viewing window here, or you can come over to your feature tree on the left, and you can click on whichever plane you want to sketch on. We're going to go and sketch on the top, and then I'm going to come over here with that plane selected and click sketch. Alright, so now it's just asking us about our orientation. How do we want this sketch positioned? And we can come over here and we can change it, because you can see the sketch plane is the top plane, just as we told it. And now it's going to reference the right plane. The right plane being this horizontal plane right here. Do we want it on the left, the right, the top, or the bottom? We're just going to go with the default of having it on the right. Alright, so on your right now you see all the tools you can use in a sketch. We have line, we have square, we have circle, we have all this stuff going on. First thing I want to go over is just a line. Let's just go ahead and click that. We're going to come over here and we're going to go and drag it down. And we already noticed it's trying to lock it into a vertical position. Pro Engineer will go ahead and do that for you. It'll try to lock the line to certain orientations that may be useful to you. You see it's trying to lock it to this reference line down here. It can also lock to horizontal. We can lock it like that. So let's go ahead and lock it to vertical. And now you see it's trying to make another line because we still have our line selected. What I want to go ahead and do is click the middle mouse button, and that keeps us from continuing that line, but we still have the option to make another line. So I'm going to middle mouse click again. Alright, and I'll left mouse click to deselect that line. And then you see Pro E's being kind of weird right now. So we have our line right here, and we can basically manipulate this line. I can drag it around, I can do all kinds of stuff to it. But the one thing you notice I cannot do is I cannot violate this vertical constraint. All the constraints are visible. If it were horizontal, it would have an H right there. And we could actually delete this constraint. So I want to show you guys, we can move this around and we cannot violate that vertical constraint. But if I click the V and I hit delete on the keyboard, I can get rid of that. So I actually just had another dimension pop up 90 degrees because now that vertical constraint is not there, so it needs something else to define its position. I can click this now and I can move it all over the place because there are basically no constraints on this line. Alright, so we saw how it does an automatic constraint, but what if we want to go ahead and constrain it ourselves now that it's in free space? Over here on the right side, we have all of our constraints that we can use in a sketch. Right here is vertical. We already used that. Well, we use the automatic constraint. Now we're going to go ahead and use the horizontal constraint. So I click that, and now I'm going to click the line. And now I can come over here and click OK, or I could have just middle mouse clicked. That's a convenient thing about Pro E, is you can middle mouse click for select or OK. Makes things pretty quick. Oftentimes reaching for the keyboard when you're modeling something for hours on end can get pretty obnoxious. So one thing I want to do now is show you the coincident constraint. You noticed before it was locking to the reference lines. We're going to go ahead and just do that ourselves instead of automatically doing that. I'm going to tell it go ahead and lock to that. Alright, and I'm going to go ahead and middle mouse click. And I'm going to go ahead and just take a line over here. We're going to draw another line. Kind of do that kind of quick. So you see up here we have our line again. That's all I'm doing. You can see it's trying to lock to this line again. It'll actually lock to the midpoint. I can lock it to this side, and I can actually lock it to be on that same horizontal line. We can go ahead and do that. We'll just lock it to the horizontal and just bring it off to the side. Actually, let's go ahead and lock it to the reference line. And I'm going to middle mouse click again. So we can go ahead and see all the things that we can manipulate now. We're still not violating any constraints that we placed on it. Constraints being locked on this line, locked on this line, and these two being on the same horizontal line and this being horizontal. Something I want to do now is we're going to go ahead and make this the line we just sketched vertical. Going over to our constraint tab on the right side. I'm going to go ahead and click that line. I'm going to middle mouse click. Alright. So right now, with this being vertical and this being horizontal, these two lines are perpendicular. But we also have a perpendicular constraint. We could have used that rather than constrain that one as vertical, and it would have done the exact same thing. Let's go ahead and see what happens when we go and tell it, okay, these are horizontal and vertical, but let's also make them perpendicular. Okay, it's giving us an error right now. That's because we've already constrained it to be perpendicular. By definition, if one line is vertical and one line is horizontal, it's going to be perpendicular. So we've basically over-defined this sketch, and that's something that occurs a lot. You'll start making sketches, and then you'll try to define all kinds of dimensions that will cancel each other out, or it'll be the same thing you're trying to define. And basically now it's telling us, okay, well, what do you want? Do you want this to be vertical? Do you want this to be horizontal, or do you want this to be perpendicular? I can't do all of it at once. We can just click undo and get rid of that perpendicular, or we can delete that vertical constraint. You see I have it highlighted. Just go ahead and click delete. You see it's the same exact thing. So now what I'm going to do is we're going to go and connect these two lines. We're going to go ahead to our constraints. We're going to do our coincident constraint again. And I'm going to lock this point to that point. Alright, well, let's see, it gave us another error. So it's on the horizontal, and it's coincident. So what we're trying to do now is over-define the sketch again. So that's not going to work, and sometimes that happens a lot when you're modeling geometry. So, because right now I think Pro Engineering thinks we're trying to constrain this vertical reference line. I'm just going to click undo. And what we're actually going to do is come down here to this other toolbar. We have an option for trimming, deleting segments. We can corner, which is what we're fixing to do, or we try to connect these two lines, or we can break a line. Now what we're going to do is corner, click this line, click a vertical line, and now they are Now we can move it around. Another one of our constraints I want to show you guys, you see we have these dimensions floating around, not really doing a whole lot. You know, we can still move it around, they're not actually holding it in place. We can tell these dimensions to be equal to one another. So what we're going to do, come down here to our constraints, and we have our equal sign. Alright, and I'm going to go ahead and set this dimension to be equal to that dimension. Middle mouse click. And we could actually go ahead and we can still drag this around, and you notice it still does not violate that constraint. Now I don't have as much freedom to move this around. And then we can go ahead and set this dimension just by double clicking it. We'll go ahead and call this 10, and then hit enter. Automatically zooms in for us. And something you may notice is we're going to go and click this again and drag it around, and I can still move it. I already defined it, and I can still move it, and that can be a problem at times. So I'm going to go ahead and Control Z, go right back to 10. What we're going to do is click the dimension until it's highlighted red, and then we're going to right click, but it's a right click and hold. So remember, in Pro Engineer, whenever you hear right click, it means hold it down. And then we're going to go ahead and lock that dimension. Now this means that cannot, nothing can violate that dimension. We can click this sketch, and it's not going anywhere. And that's a good habit to start with. You know, we want this sketch to be fully defined. Oftentimes, if you don't define enough things, and then you know, say you're trying to get something machined, and well, there's not enough things that are defined in this drawing, I can't machine it. So this is what you want to do. So now we're going to go ahead and come over to our circle that we have over here in our sketch palette. And I'm just going to throw this out here in random space. And I'm just going to middle mouse click. And now I'm going to come back over here to my constraints. And now I'm going to make this circle tangent to the two lines that we've made. I'll click the circle, I'll click this line, click the circle again, and click our vertical line. Alright, we wanted to go ahead and fill up this whole box. So what we can actually do is make this tangent to the reference lines that we have as well. So I'm going to click the circle and click the vertical reference line. And what if I were to click the circle and click this reference line? Let's find out. Alright, we overdefined our sketch again. But it's okay, we know how to look at these errors when we get them. So let's go, you can tell it's highlighting this E right here, so do you want these to be equal dimensions, or this equal dimension? I can't make all this happen at once. We're going to go ahead and undo this. Alright, something else I want to show you guys before we get too far along is you can zoom in and out of your sketch by rolling the your middle mouse wheel. So I can actually zoom in and I can look at things a little bit closer if things are getting kind of funny, and that's convenient to know. So back over here on the right side, notice we went over these tools. What I want to use is this divide tool. This is going to break a line, one single line to create two lines. We're going to click that, and I want to break it where this is tangent, on this tangency point, that exact point. You may notice it doesn't lock very well to that, but if you do get close to that tangency and click it, it will break it. Now, you notice I broke it, and I'm going to middle mouse click to get out of there, but now something has changed. Our whole sketch has shifted. And that happens especially when you're first getting started. You'll notice the sketches are doing weird things. But what we just did, and I'm making these mistakes on purpose for you guys, is when we broke this line, it had to constrain something. This line was originally, when this was one line, it was 10. But now that it's two separate lines, it can't do that anymore. So 5 is for half line is the best thing it could do, but it still kept this line equal to one of those lines that we broke. What I'm going to go ahead and do is click Control Z. Alright, and so that's kind of weird. Not really sure, maybe some of you aren't sure how to prevent stuff like that. But remember, when you constrain something, or when you define something, we define this line to be that distance. I've got a new idea. We can define this line to be a distance away from our vertical reference line. I'm going to go ahead and just delete this. I'm going to go ahead and delete that as well. And if you come over here to your right toolbar, you have an option to go ahead and define things yourself. You can dimension things rather than going off those auto dimensions that pop up in gray. I'm going to click that. I'm going to click this vertical line, and then I'm going to click our vertical reference line. And I'm going to middle mouse click. So now we are no longer defining the length of this line, but we are actually defining the distance from our vertical line to our reference line. And I want that to be 10. I'm going to lock that down. Well, I need to deselect that. And you notice it was still highlighted even though I was clicking off of it. Sometimes Pro E does that. If you just scroll out, scroll back in, it will refresh. I'm going to go ahead and click this and lock it down. And we want to go ahead and do the same thing for our horizontal line. We're going to click that, click here, and we've defined this to be 10. We're going to lock it down. It's good practice to lock down all of your sketches. And now we're going to come back up here to our divide. I'm going to go ahead to the tangent point and break it again. And you notice it didn't freak out on us this time. And then I'm going to break this tangency point as well. Alright, so now something else I noticed on the school computers is for some reason it wasn't dividing these lines as well. I think it has a different Pro E license, and maybe it's just not getting along as well. If that happens, pretty much just come over here to your line segment and cut those lines out. But we aren't going to get into that just yet. Okay, so what we're going to go ahead and do now is this horizontal line and this vertical line have been broken into two lines. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and click these. To click multiple lines, we'll go ahead and click one, we'll hold down Control, and click our other line. Alright, so we have them both selected, and I'm going to right click and hold, and I'm going to go to Construction. So now, we didn't actually get rid of that line completely, we just turned it into a construction line, so it does not affect our sketch. It's just there to make sure all the dimensions and constraints that we've placed on the sketch are still driving it. So if we had gotten rid of these coincidents that we had placed for this to be locked to this line, would no longer be there. So now what we want to do is let's go ahead and also make this arc a construction. Remember, we're just clicking it and then right clicking, and I could actually make it go back to a geometry if I want to. But I'm going to go back to construction. Alright, so it looks like we have our sketch fully defined. I can click it and I can try to drag it around, and it's not going anywhere. So it's exactly how I want it. It's parametrically driven. Something I want to show you guys up here on your top toolbar. You have a lot of options to mess around with. One thing I want to show you is shade closed loops. So if your sketch is closed, meaning there are no breaks in it, and it's not open to whatever's out there, it will shade just like that. So this is really important when you're trying to model stuff. You can't do a lot of features with an open sketch. Just can't do it. Something else is if you're out here and you accidentally if you click your middle mouse and you rotate, now you're rotating in 3D space, and it's hard to sketch now. It's difficult to sketch on a 2D plane when you are looking at it from an angle. This happens a lot if you're working really quickly. So you can come up here to your reorient button, and it will bring us right back to where we were. Alright, so our sketch is ready to go. I'm going to go down here and click Done. So you can see it's highlighted red now, where we just have the sketch selected. You can see it's selected over here on our toolbar, or our feature tree. And I'm going to go ahead and I can deselect it. And if I want to extrude it, I need to select it again, obviously. So I can select it in here, or I can select it over here on the feature tree. And I'm going to click Extrude. And I know sometimes, other softwares, they'll have these big buttons that say the name on them. In Pro E, you kind of have to put your mouse over them, and it'll explain to you what it's for. So, Extrude. And now, Pro E wants to know how far to extrude. So, I'm going to go ahead and tell it. These are all the options we have up here on our toolbar. Pretty much whenever you're trying to manipulate a feature like this, all the options are going to be up here on your top left side. I'm going to go ahead and tell it 5. And we're going to go ahead and something I want to point out is you can switch the direction that this is going in. If you want it going in the other direction of your sketch, just like that. We can flip it back, do it as many times as we want. I'm going to go ahead and click the check mark, so done. I'm satisfied with how this looks. And I want to go ahead and point out now, you saw me kind of rotating around earlier. Probably should have explained, just like in the sketch, if you click the middle mouse and if you hold down the middle mouse, you can rotate and check out your part. You also have the option to you can zoom in and out just like with a sketch using your middle mouse wheel. We can zoom in and we can check out certain parts. We can see what's going on if something's maybe not quite how we want it. And then we can also pan, so we can hold down Shift and the middle mouse and we can pan from left to right. Alright, up here on our top right we have a bunch of datums. So these are our reference planes that we use to sketch on. We also have axes, we have points, and we have coordinate systems. What I want to do is go ahead and click planes. This is basically to hide the planes. So sometimes you can be making something that has a lot of planes and then you can't see anything, and that can get pretty obnoxious. So we can go ahead and turn those off and clean it up a little bit. We don't have any axes, we don't have any points. We do have a coordinate system. That's our default coordinate system right here. So what I want to show you guys how to do is edit and extrude. We went ahead and made this extrude, but we changed our minds. We don't really want it to actually be like that. So we're going to go and click extrude over here. We're going to right click. We're going to edit definition. Alright, so I went over how to flip our extrude if we don't want it going in one direction. But we also have the option to extrude about the midplane. So this is extrude symmetrically. So what if I actually wanted to extrude in both surfaces or in both directions? I can click that, and now it will extrude in both directions. Notice we can type in the nominal value up here, but we can also grab these and just stretch it out and take a look at it and just freehand it. That's one way of doing things. So I went over saying these are all of our options up here for the extrude. So what if we wanted to extrude this different depths in each direction? So you see I can extrude it symmetrically, but what if I actually want it extruded unsymmetrically? So we click options up here. And so we have side 1 and side 2. Because it's symmetric, it's not going to give me side 2. But I want to go ahead to blind. And then I have an option for side 2. It says none. We're going to go ahead and open that up and say blind as well. So now we can change both sides completely independent from each other. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll do 6. Well, no, let's do 10 on one side, and then let's do 8 on the other we're finished now. I'm going to go ahead and click the check mark up here. Alright, and now we have an unsymmetrically extruded teardrop type thing. Alright, so something I want to show you guys is on the left side we have our sketch that we made in our feature tree. You notice it went ahead and it hid that sketch from us because we've already used it. That's why it's gray over here, is because we can't see it now. But if we click it, we can see it. We can also unhide it by right-clicking and coming down here to unhide. Alright, so now we showed you guys how to make a solid part, but now I actually want to cut away from this part. I want to get rid of some of this material. So I'm going to go to Sketch, and we're actually going to reuse this sketch that we already used just by clicking it. I'm going to come back up here to Extrude. This is a convenient thing. You have the option to do an internal sketch and an external sketch in Pro E, and what we made was an external sketch. An internal sketch, you'll notice over here in the Extrude, if we click this plus sign, is we have a sketch underneath our Extrude. It's basically the same exact sketch as we already made, except it has it twice. If we had made an internal sketch, we wouldn't even have that. We wouldn't have this sketch on our feature tree, and we would not get to reuse it if we wanted to cut. I recommend always making an external sketch. Having it internal and only internal can make your tree a little bit cleaner, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter if your model, if you can't do what you want to do with your model, and you have to go back and make another sketch. So let's go ahead and have our sketch selected, and we're going to go to Extrude again, just as before, except this time what we're going to do is remove material. And why don't we go ahead and go about the mid-plane and do this symmetrically. So that's doing it symmetrically about the plane that you have your sketched on. And we can go ahead and we'll do 6. Alright, so we have it cut out now. I'm going to come up here to the check mark. And it's cut. And now we have 2 teardrops. Okay, so now what I want to go over is making a sketch on another surface. So remember, our planes are hiding up here. If you want to see your planes, there they are. Here's a plane that we sketched on earlier. But this time we are going to sketch on a plane as we did earlier. We're going to sketch on this inside surface that we made. Flat surfaces are just as good as planes, pretty much when it comes to sketching and modeling in general. So we're going to click Sketch, and now it's asking us where you want to sketch. You notice before I already had the plane selected and I didn't have to do this, but now I need to tell it, okay, well, this is where I want to sketch on this inside surface of the part we made. We're going to click Sketch. It's going to orient our view for us. Alright, so what I want to do is make a circle that is concentric with this circle that we've already made. You notice if I come up here to our line, I can't lock to the circle. Other softwares, you'll notice you can automatically lock to it. But in Pro Engineer, what you need to do is come up here to Sketch on your toolbar, and we're going to go to Reference, or References. And I'm going to go ahead and click this circle, this outside edge. You notice I can pretty much click any edge on here. I'm just going to go ahead and click our circle, and now I can reference that. I'm going to middle mouse click. I can come over and click OK, but like I said, middle mouse click is just as good as clicking OK. And now I want to make a circle. You see, now we're able to lock to this line. We're able to reference that. So now what I want to do is I'm locking this circle to the center of our reference circle. Middle mouse, and I'm going to go ahead and define this circle to be 3. Remember, we're going to go ahead and lock this dimension down good practice to do that. We can drag this out here if it's in our way. We can move it around, do whatever we want with it. And now we can't move this around because it's fully defined. I'm going to go ahead and click OK because we're done with our sketch. And I'm going to go ahead and rotate out so I can see what's going on. Alright. We have our sketch selected still. I'm going to go to Extrude. Alright, and so now what I can do is I can extrude this just some arbitrary distance, and it's inside of there. And we can do that just like so. Make sure it's inside of your part, inside the other side of your part. I'll go ahead and click OK. So what I want to show you guys is now we changed our minds. We want this cut a little bit further. I'm going to edit this definition of our extrude that we made for the cut. So this is the cut extrude number 2. I'm going to right click, edit definition. Alright, now we're going to go out a lot further this time. We'll call it 12. And now our part doesn't go all the way. Okay, now it's broken. I can come back in here and I can extrude that a little bit further, or we can edit this to extrude up to this surface. And this is where design intent comes from. This is actually modeling with the intention of being able to modify your part. So I'm going to go ahead and right click this extrude. I'm going to edit definition. And over here we have our options for the extrude. And what I want to do is extrude up to next surface. So I'm going to go and click that. And you notice it's going to look kind of crazy right now. It's just doing whatever it's going to do to show us some kind of representation. But this actually isn't what it's going to do, so don't worry. We're going to go ahead and click check. And so what it's done is it's extruded to the next surface. And something else I wanted to point out is when we cut this, you notice that sketch, we only didn't meet one side. The other side stayed exactly where it was supposed to be, because when that surface moved, that sketch moved. And that's kind of where design intent comes into play. We basically made this model with the intention of being able to modify it. So if I went back into our cut extrude, now to edit it, now to shrink it down, everything is exactly as it should be. So my sketch is still on this plane, and I still only extrude up to this surface. So that's the point I was trying to get across, is when you're modeling something, kind of maybe have the intent of being able to go back and change it. It can be a really powerful concept for you. And this is displaying the parent-child relationship. So basically, say this sketch that we made, this circle down here, is a child of this surface. So when this surface changes, that sketch changes with it. So it's completely dependent. Same thing with this extrude. When this changes, this extrude will have to change its depth of extrusion. And ProEngineer can automatically do that, as you saw. It can be really convenient if you're trying to build a robust model for you to make several changes to and maybe run simulations on. So I'm going to say that's it for the extrude feature for right now. What we're going to go ahead and do is go up here to File and save our part. I'll go ahead and just save it to where I'm at right now. Actually, you know what? Let's save. I can actually go ahead and make a new folder from within here. And you notice it says new directory. What ProEngineering does is it has a directory that it likes to work out of because it makes a lot of files. It'll drop trial files, and if you save again, it'll save multiple files, so you can go back and see old versions. So we went ahead and saved that part. What I want to go ahead and do is create a new part. Here to new. And we're going to go ahead and call this one a pulley. Alright, so we have a new work area. You notice we don't have planes like we did before, and that's because we don't have our planes selected. They weren't visible. So don't forget that. Sometimes you may be like, oh God, what happened to all my stuff? Just remember there's probably a button for it. So what we're going to go ahead and do now is I'm going to sketch on my front plane. Go ahead and click sketch. And I want to show you guys another constraint that we had. Well, first off, let's actually make a construction line right now, a center line actually. And we're going to go and click this. We can lock it onto our horizontal reference line right now, and we can move this all around, but it's going to lock to our horizontal. And I'm going to just click, left click, and middle mouse click. That way I can deselect that option, otherwise they'll just be making center lines. And now what I'm going to do is come up here to rectangle, and I'm going to go ahead and lock to our vertical line, and I'm going to drag it out, and you notice it'll lock to our horizontal line. And you notice now that we have that center line, it's going to lock to be symmetric about that center line. That's pretty convenient. And especially if you have a specific design intent, and we'll go over that. So I'm going to go ahead and click this and middle mouse to deselect. And now notice I can grab this corner and I can move it around, but it stays symmetric about this center line. So what if we didn't make that center line first? It was nice and convenient for us the way we did it, but if we didn't make this center line, what would we do? Just like with our other constraints, there's always a way to make something work. So I'm going to go ahead and just sketch our rectangle like so, and it's no longer symmetric because I didn't have that center line there. I'm going to go ahead and make the center line now. And now I'm going to go ahead and go to our constraints over here on the right side. This time I'm going to go to our symmetric constraint. I'm going to click this corner, and then I'm going to click the far corner, and then I'm going to click our center line. Alright, and now it's went ahead and constrain itself, and I'm going to middle mouse. You notice that right now it's showing us the shaded region from where it was before, and as opposed to where it is now. I'm going to go ahead and middle mouse, and we still have our shaded region selected up here on the top left. It shows us that the sketch is closed, which it is still. You can deselect it if you don't like that, but I personally always like to know if my sketch is closed or not. I'm going to go ahead and define this dimension to be, we'll call 10, and I'm going to go ahead and define this dimension to be 50. If you don't like that drastic of a change, you can always click it and drag it there on your own. There are other options to have it regenerate everything all at once, but I'm not going to go over that right now, maybe in our next workshop. So remember, we want to lock all of our dimensions down. I'm going to go ahead and click our 50, and I'm going to control click our 10, and right click lock. Alright, so what I want to do is actually create a revolve. I want to revolve this sketch around a line. So what I need to do is make that line. Back up here where our lines are at, I want to go to geometry, center line. And I'm going to lock this to be vertical along with our vertical reference line. And middle mouse. And now I'm going to say done. We're done with the sketch. And now we have our sketch selected still. I'm going to go to Revolve over here directly underneath Extrude. I'm going to revolve it. And I'll rotate it and take a look at it. Just like before with the extrude, we have the option to revolve it as far as we want. You know, we can only do a couple, or we could do a couple degrees if we wanted, or we can just do full 360. We're going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to click done. Alright, now what I want to do is sketch on one of these planes. Right now it's not terribly important. We can sketch on the front or on the right plane. I'm going to go ahead and sketch on the right plane. I'm going to go to sketch. And it asks us for orientation. I'm fine with this orientation, so sketch. And remember, we can't reference any of these lines now. If I came up here and selected our line, we can't lock to it. But I want to be able to do that. So let's go to sketch, references, and we're going to tell it what lines to reference. I want to reference these lines right here. And you notice I have the option to select this whole face, and it won't actually work. It won't just select all, just so you know. What actually I have to purposely select the edges. Alright, so we're done. We're just going to middle mouse click. And now what I'm going to go ahead and do is we're going to revolve this one again, this sketch. So I'm going to go ahead and make my center line now. It's kind of good practice as soon as you start your sketch to make your center line. That way you don't forget. Because I don't know how many times I've made a sketch and wondering why it's not revolving, and the whole time I never had a center line. So I'm going to go ahead and come up here to our rectangle and go ahead and lock it to the top center of our plate. And I'm going to just bring this down here, and you notice it'll, you know, we can lock to all the stuff we've noticed we can lock to these lines, but now what it's trying to do is lock to make these in equal length. That's what those L's mean. We can do that, or we can come out here. We're going to go ahead and do that. We're going to go and let it lock to be in equal length. So I'm going to go ahead and click that in middle mouse. And if you don't want that, remember, you can just come to these constraints. You can click them and then click delete on your keyboard, and it will get rid of that constraint, because now I can't actually do anything with this. So remember, you can just click that and then hit delete, and it will go away if that's not what you want. Alright, so now what I want to do is I'm going to come up here to my line again, and I'm going to click on this corner, and I'm going to come down just at some arbitrary angle and come straight down, lock the speed vertical, and come across, and we're going to go ahead and close our sketch. Remember, we have to close our sketch. If I were to finish right there, I'll show you. This area is highlighted, and then this area is not. And so we know, okay, well, this isn't a closed loop sketch right here. Maybe we've made a more complicated sketch, and it's not obvious, okay, where is this not happy with? Up here next to our closed loop option is highlight open ends. And now it tells us exactly, it highlights these ends in red, and it says, hey, these are just free-floating, this is not a closed sketch, we need to do something about that. I'm going to go ahead and close that up. And we're still trying to make a line, so we're going to middle mouse. And now we have two closed sections. I still want to make another section in the sketch. So I'm going to come over here at just some arbitrary distance, don't worry too much about it. And I'm going to drag this down. And let's see. You notice it can lock to be parallel now. You know, we talked about all these constraints, parallel being another one of the constraints. And it will also auto lock. It'll auto lock to be the same length, and it'll auto lock to be the same, or to be parallel to the other line as well. I'm going to go and let it do that. And then I'm going to go all the way over here and make this line horizontal. And we're going to go ahead and lock it to our the top of our plate. And don't forget, just as before, we have to close the sketch. I saw a lot of you guys doing this during the workshop is you weren't closing the sketch up. Well, I accidentally clicked the middle mouse button, so I have to close it, middle mouse, and now the whole thing's closed up. And while we're talking about common mistakes during the workshop, I noticed some of you were laying lines over top of other lines. So if I were to come in here, and I already have this line right here, it's already closed, and I were to make another line on top of this, I would say, okay. Well, now it looks, to me, it looks closed, but it's not. If I were to try to do anything with the sketch, it would fail, because I have this extra line here. And if I didn't have this selected, if I was, you know, just someone getting started, and I didn't think, okay, well, let's select those, it looks like it's finished to me. I don't see what's the problem here. So remember that. That's why we have these options turned on. And not all the time will it show that. Say if I were to delete that line, and I were to make another line the same distance, I believe it would, yeah. So now it doesn't even show us that line. So it looks like it's finished, and it's not even showing us where it's highlighted. So this can be something that can be pretty irritating to work with if you make that mistake, because you'll be sitting there cursing the computer wondering why your sketch or why your feature's failing. So our sketch is shaded completely. We don't have any red lines, we don't have any extra lines, or we don't have any highlighted ends. We're going to go ahead and click Done. And we're going to go ahead and revolve, just as before, but except this time we're going to go ahead and remove material. I'm going to click OK. And now we've taken material out of the disk. Remember, I can hide these planes so I can get a better look at my part. And here's a neat little disc. So what I actually want to make is a pulley. So I'm going to show you guys a feature here. You notice the whole point of making the symmetric in the beginning is so I had something to mirror this feature around. Because, you know, I want this to be symmetric, and I'm pretty lazy anyway. So I'm just going to come up here. I have my revolve, my cut selected. Remember, this is the cut we just made. I select that. I'm going to come over here to one of the features called mirror. And now what I'm going to do is tell it, what are we going to mirror about? I'm going to go ahead and mirror it about this this plane right here that we used. This is also the plane that we used to define the symmetry of the disk. So I can go ahead and select this top plane, and I'm going to click OK. And it has mirrored the entire thing. Let's go ahead and turn off the planes again, that way we can get a good look at it. And now we have a pulley already cut out and made for us. So there it is. Let's see. So one other thing I want to go over. I want to show you guys if I had screwed up that sketch. Let's go into the sketch real quick. Edit definition. Let's say I did what I was talking about and I made that line. I had a line on top of another line. Go ahead and click OK. And now the whole thing failed. It's yelling at me and I can't figure out what's going on. I can come in here to our Extrude and edit definition, and okay, why isn't it working? Not really going to get a lot of help in here. It's not really going to do anything for us. So okay, well, even though this is what's failing, I need to realize, okay, this is what's causing it to fail. So it highlighted that red for us, let us know something's wrong, but it doesn't mean that we can fix it within that feature. So I'm going to go ahead and edit definition. And I'm going to come back in here and delete that line. And we have our disk. Something else I want to show you guys is a hole command. You notice we've been cutting some stuff out, and I could make a sketch in here to cut something out. But now what I want to do is just make a hole through it. We can use our hole command over here, just to make a nice straight through hole. So what we're going to do is turn our planes back on, and what I'll do now is we'll click this hole, or our hole command, and we're going to go ahead and click the surface of our pulley, and now we have a hole being defined right now. So right up here we have our option to define the diameter of this hole. I can call it 5 if I want, or I could also click it on here and I can drag it around. You notice most features are like that. There are multiple places to define it. It doesn't really matter what your preference is, just define it. I'm going to go ahead, and these green dots here are how we define where it should be on this plate. So we told the software we want this hole to be on the surface of this plate, and now what we want to do is define, I guess, a few more parameters on where it should be located. I'm going to go ahead and dimension it to be 0 away from this plane. Well, actually, I didn't want to do that. Let me define it off of this plane. Okay. See, you did want to do that, but I had to define everything first. So I went ahead and just to redo that for you, is I locked this green square here to this front plane, and it went ahead and did what I told it to do. It went to 0, and now we have another dimension over here. So it's 0 away from this plane, and now how far away do we want it from this other plane? We can also, you notice I can change it. Well, I can't actually change it up here. I can only change it on the screen. We're going to do 18. Let's see. That looks about a good place to put our hole. This is the depth of the hole. Remember, all those options we went through with Extrude, you pretty much have the same options here, but what we want to do is we're just going to go through all surfaces. This basically is going to cut through anything that's in its path, and that's pretty much what we want to do. Is if we make this disc bigger, we still want this hole to go all the way through it, and that's design intent. Like I said, if we modify it later on, that hole will still be there. So now let's say I want a couple holes around here. I don't want just one right there, and I don't want to define all of them. That would take all day. So what I want to do is I'm going to make an axis up here. So we have all these planes sitting out here, but now we talked about these axes that we hid. So if we turn our axes back on, we can see we actually made an axis by making that hole. But I actually want one in this hole right here. So I'm going to go ahead and click axes, and I'm going to go ahead and, you see it's wanting to click to all this stuff right now, and I'm having a hard time figuring out, okay, is this the one I want? I'm going to turn the planes off to make this a little bit easier. We're going to go ahead and select this surface inside, and okay. So now we have an axis passing through the center of our pulley. And now what I'm going to do is go ahead and click our hole over here, and I'm going to use a pattern now. So we used mirror before, and that's a productivity tool, and so is pattern. It makes it a lot easier for us just to go over things and to do things we've already done just more efficiently. And we're going to pattern this. And we have all these options up here on how to pattern. So remember, just with all of our features, everything that we need to define the features up here. We can define it based off dimension, direction, and all this other stuff up here. But what I'm going to do is define it off the axes. And this is basically if you wanted to rotate something in a circular pattern like we are. I click axes. And you notice right now what it's doing is we don't have that axis there anymore. So what happened? And this can happen a lot when you try to when you try to make a I guess a feature that relies on another feature. We're going to go ahead and exit out of this. Are you sure you want to cancel? Yes. And what I try to do is I revolve this, or I pattern that, but you notice that I wanted to pattern it around that axis, and that axis is later in the tree. You have an option. This tree is a timeline, and anything that happens after a certain feature, I cannot make this revolve depend on this axis right now. I can't do that. It's too far back. This axis is actually dependent on the revolve. So if I could actually roll this back, and I could basically turn back time and see how I did this, and see step by step. Okay, that's how I made this part. But what I want to do is I'm going to take this axis that we made, and I'm going to roll it back. I'm going to roll it back to before we made that hole. So now I can actually do something with that hole that depends on this axis, because I couldn't do that before. So we have our hole selected, and we're going to go ahead and pattern it again like we just were. We're going to go back up here to axes, and you notice our axis is there now. Before it wasn't there, because it's at that specific time on the feature tree. We're going to go and click that axis as being the item that it is rotating around, and we have the option here to do 4 every 90 degrees, or we have an option here to say make it symmetric. So make it if we were to tell it to do 6, it would do 6, and it would space them equally throughout 360 degrees. Or we could specifically tell it I don't know, every 30 degrees or whatever. So I'm going to go ahead and make it equal. Click the check mark, and now we have all of our holes. And now we have a fully made pulley ready to go on to whatever machine we're working with. Let's see. Alright, so I think that's enough for right now. We covered a lot of stuff. I'll post another video later to go over some other reference features. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask. You can always email me. My email is jgiffen, 2 F's, don't know how to spell my name, 607@gmail.com. For any of you that have any questions or specific stuff that you would like to go over. And if you don't have Pro Engineer on your personal computer, you can always go visit Steve Dick over in the Harris Lab, or in the Harris Building. He's in HEC 347. He can install Pro Engineering and install SolidWorks or NX on your computer as well. So go stop by and get that taken care of. And don't forget, if you have any questions, ask me, and I'll be posting more videos for you guys later. That way everyone's all caught up. In the next workshop, we can go over some more advanced features. Although we did cover a lot in this, a lot of different features and a lot of different theories in this workshop. So I encourage you guys to go back through and really understand everything we went over. Understand how to modify. Understand that when you're getting errors, how to problem solve those, because you're always going to run into issues when you're modeling stuff, and it's always going to seem like it's fighting you, but it's rarely ever the software that's the problem. So keep that in mind, and happy catting.